Welcome to today's episode of Simply Honest. This is the show where I like to give you honest yet simple first impressions of various games, all from indie studios and even AAAs, all because every game has a story to tell. In today's lovely episode, we have the amazing RTS game known as Diplomacy is Not an Option. Now, Diplomacy is a massive RTS style game where you get to quite literally manage thousands upon thousands of troops taking on tens of thousands of enemies in a crazy, intense wave management style game. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when I say hundreds upon thousands of troops, I genuinely mean this. A lot of the gameplay that you're going to be seeing here on screen will be actual gameplay footage, not including mods, not including modifications. This is just quite literally some of the insane things you get to manage and deal with in later points in the game. So, hope you guys enjoy it, but nevertheless though, let's dive into the review. Now, Diplomacy is Not an Option is an old-fashioned style RTS game where you are set in the medieval era. Catapults, archers, crossbowmen, with the involvement of magic. You get to use the powers of magic to do things such as summoning troops, laser beams from the sky, and classic fireballs, and even more. With the really cool thing about Diplomacy is that this is a game where you get to either involve yourself within the realms of their fully fleshed out campaign, or you can check out their endless mode to see how far your management systems go and how well you can survive in the onslaught of enemies. Now, some of my first initial impressions of this game was that I was very curious about what was going to go down. Personally, I do not have the most experience with RTS games outside of things such as Halo Wars and other forms of things like Civilization, because in a lot of ways, those games I've always found to be very limiting. Most RTS games that I've experienced usually have a pretty hardcore army size cap, making most encounters between maybe 50 to 60 troops, mostly in order to keep the game actually functioning. While this game, Diplomacy Not an Option, allows you to just go and absolutely unleash shenanigans as you take on tens of thousands of troops at once. And one of the really biggest things I will say that surprised me during my first impressions of this game is the fact that this game genuinely is, in my opinion, the truest sense to a large-scale combat style game that I've ever seen on the market, and it's an amazing quality for an indie game based off first impressions. Originally, when I was looking around to try to figure out like how insane and how intense the combat would be in this game, I was initially expecting that most of the army caps would be around a few hundred units each. I later found out that that is not the case. Due to the sheer scale of some of the upcoming later campaign matches, you do have to find a way to manage large numbers of individuals and people. And this, for me, at my first glance, became somewhat over the top and a little bit on the confusing side, because in order to keep track of the many troops and buildings that you have to do, it does require a fair degree of planning, which unfortunately I don't have the best skills with, but I got to have a lot of fun with while I was attempting to learn such a necessity. Now, when I was taking on some of the more larger scale combat situations, personally, the biggest thing that was really difficult for me was the experience of being lost in the sauce. When you're dealing with 4 separate corners of a city wall being attacked by various forms of people, you do gotta get really good at managing your buildings and knowing when to do certain actions. But again, as an RTS game, it is very true to the genre. Overall, when it comes to the graphic quality of Diplomacy is Not an Option, I will say for an indie game, this is honestly a very interesting method of how they designed the game. Because with the sheer scale of the number of character models that you're going to be dealing with when you play this game, you have to understand that most computers are not going to run like supercomputers. A lot of the character models are very low poly style characters with all very fluid motions. And I think that the biggest thing that I loved about this was the fact that it was a very smart and a very interesting method of doing such a thing. Because if this game had the character model designs of things like Total War or even Halo Wars, I'm very confident that the scale would cause most computers to explode like they're trying to explode TNT blocks in Minecraft. But nevertheless though, kudos to the developers on this very interesting mechanic idea. One of the things that I was very happy to see was the involvement of a time mechanic. Because this game uses a lot of real-world time involvement, such as the timer to dictate when a new wave is coming, and also in order to incorporate the sheer amount of buildings and building times, the involvement of fast-forwarding and even pausing allows this kind of an RTS to be very powerful and a very lovely quality of life that I personally appreciated quite a bit when I first got into this game. Some of my personal opinions when it came to the involvement of the campaign was that I was actually very surprised and very thankful that there was an actual campaign. A lot of RTS games that I've played in the past, such as things like Civilization, don't really have a genuine campaign. It's mostly, do you want to fight bots? You take on the bots and you have a nice day. But with this one, Diplomacy Not an Option does have a fully fleshed out campaign where you get to play yourself as a king of a nation who's going into an age of very soon to be civil war. You have the option and the ability to either choose to, in one of the areas at least, to take on the corrupted tyrant king, or you can choose to side with the nobles and take out the insurrectionists. Either way, the campaign itself was very fun, a lot of various challenges, and something that I think for anyone who wants to just engross yourself into a story, I think it's a really fun way to play it. And it's a decently sized campaign overall. Now, when it comes to the overall future of what I think this game can do, one of the things that I saw and immediately popped into my brain was the fact that this game could have a lot of power and a lot of opportunity when it comes to the involvement of mods. With mods, I feel like this game could have a lot of fun in regards to different character models, different settings, or even different forms of involvement of extra challenges in order to make the game even more chaotic than it already is. But of course, that is 100% depending on the direction of the developers, but I do believe this game could have a lot of fun opportunities when it comes to mods. Another overall idea that I thought when I thought about the overall future of this game is that I felt that this game could definitely work in regards to including new updates and additional locations and even new armies should the developers ever choose to do so. But again, there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of really big potentials, at least at the time of this recording. I will say this though, one of the biggest things that I've noticed with this game is that this genuinely surprised me. Everything that happened within Diplomacy is Not an Option was something I was not prepared for. The army sizes, the method of buildings, and the overall style of the game was a very pleasant surprise that I'm very thankful I got to experience. And one of the biggest things that I loved during this review was that, as I've mentioned multiple times already, this game feels like a real RTS, especially within consideration to the theme of the game. Going back into a classic medieval era with the usage of magic, I love the ability of using magic in this game because sometimes it's just one of those situations where the only true way to clear a room, or in this case, to clear a valley of intruders, is just to throw a fireball at it because we all love a good fireball. Now, one of the things that I will say that could lead to a slightly negative press involving this game is most likely the potential of a high skill ceiling. What I mean by that is that this game, in my opinion, when it gets to later points in the game, is not good for casual individuals. The high stakes, high management cost of all the various buildings and all the various armies can get exceptionally overwhelming, especially to the sheer scale of it. But this is also a game that is built perfectly for those of you who are looking for a large city builder style game while also having the involvement of a fun, engaging military aspect of it. Again, the scaling could be dependent on the player, but for the most part, I believe this is a great game for those of you who are looking for a fun RTS game, a fun strategy opportunity, and just something that allows you to really dive into a really fun and a new dynamic when it comes to an RTS style genre. As always though, if you guys end up enjoying today's review, do consider liking, following, and of course subscribing as you get to check out some of the cool things that this game has. And of course, if you guys do happen to have any suggestions for upcoming future updates and or future games, let me know down in the comment section what you guys would feel like, or let me know in the comment section how you guys personally enjoyed this game if you ended up playing it. As always though, I've been your host, NiccoSilverado. This has been another glorious review on Simply Honest. This game is once again known as Diplomacy is Not an Option. It is available on Steam, and there will be a link in the description below. And feel free to click on some of the other videos that we have, as we do typically cover multiple types of games and other genres. One more time though, I am your host, NiccoSilverado, and as always though, and forever, adios, sayonara, and goodbye.